One of my favorite games when I first joined the hobby was Seven Wonders. In this game, you will be drafting cards trying to build up your wonder. Since then, there were plenty of expansions, as well as Seven Wonders Duels, a two-player version of the drafting experience. But now we have another game to add to the Seven Wonders line, and that's Seven Wonders Architect. Like that game, you will be building up a wonder, but instead of drafting cards, you're only going to be pulling from the decks from your neighbors or a mystery one in the center. Whoever can get the most victory points at the end truly has the best wonder. The game will set up like this, with your wonder in the center, not yet constructed, as you can see with all the scaffolding, with two decks, one to your left and right. One of them will be from your set, one will be from your opponent's. They are technically the same. The idea more is there'll be a random choice for on your turn. You can choose to take a card from here, or from the center table. So if there was another player that had a card you liked, but they were sitting across from you, well, unfortunately, you don't have access to that card. When you take a card, you will add it in front of you to your tab below. This is in your collection until it is to be spent. Like I said, you can take from here, but you do not know what you're getting. If at any time you have the resources to build a level that is a level that has no non-constructed things on it, so in this case, only the base is available, you must build it. Building them will almost always be either resources not the same or resources at the same. So in this case, two that are not the same, what do you know? We have that. You would discard them, flip it over, and at the end of the game, each constructed part of your wonder is going to give you that many victory points. Some of them will have another symbol too. Each wonder has their own unique power. And if you were to construct this, then you get to activate that power as well. If you're ever curious, each container in the box explains what the power of your wonder is. But resources are not the only thing that you can get in this game. First off, there's military. Just like in the previous game, you will have to try to balance military with your neighbors. Whenever you gain one, put it aside. If you get one with this horn symbol, you will flip over one of these peace tokens. Once all tokens are flipped, a battle occurs, in which case you will compare your military strength to your neighbors. For each neighbor that you have more points in, you will gain some victory points. Your opponent does not lose anything outside of the fact that you are going above them. If there's a tie, nothing happens. Afterwards, players will discard all strength cards that have a horn. So the ones like this that are just the strength symbol will stay with you, meaning it's going to be more of a permanent bonus. Once the battle is done, you will also flip all cards back to their peace side. The other thing you can get are science cards. Science cards come in three symbols, and whenever you get either two of the same or three different ones, you must trade them in order to get one of these science tokens here. They come in a variety of powers, be it giving you a bonus to draw an extra card depending on if you take a card of that type, a static bonus, or giving things more victory points. You can also take from the top. Finally, let's look at this little statue that I moved around. It's part of the blue cards, which are just victory points. Some of them just have 3 victory points on them, like so, but some of them will be worth less but have this cat logo. If you get the one that takes the card that has a cat logo, you get this cat statue. At the end of the game, it'll be worth 2 points. Plus, on your turn, before you begin, you may look at the top card of the deck to see what it is, giving you more information in order to decide what you want to pick. You're going to keep going until someone has successfully built their wonder completely. The game will end right then, and you're going to add up points and see who's the winner. If you played the previous 7 Wonder, then you may recognize that this seems like a much simpler, streamlined version, and I think that was the goal. You can look here, and plenty of the symbols appear in the previous game. The sign symbols are the same, a lot of the resources, same picture more or less, combat symbol, but they've been simplified in their meaning. For example, the sign symbols in the original game, when collected in sets, depending on, could drastically increase your points, so there was much more of a multiplicative and set collecting aspect there. There's also that the resources in that were a bit more specific, as in something might need strictly 2 bricks and a wood, and things like glass were considered advanced elements or resources, and unfortunately to get those, it was a bit harder and there weren't as many cards for that. I think the reasoning behind this is because of how old the original 7 Wonders is. A lot of people played that early on, and I've seen talk of it as a gateway game. But personally, even for me, in particular, coming from TCG games where drafting is a big component, I do not consider Seven Wonders it's a game you can understand the basics of, but actually competing against other people is much harder. Knowing what cards are available or how your opponent's building up their engine can make a huge difference. And multiple times while playing it, I love the game, but someone being much more inexperienced is going to be much farther behind than other players. So the idea behind, I believe, Architects is to actually give a more gateway experience in which that you don't have to worry nearly as much. You're just going to pick on what you want out of the cards near you. Sure, you can take a card that you know your opponent needs, but that won't come up nearly as much as if you are drafting cards. And like I said, they simplified what some of the definitions are, making it easier for you to wrap your head around. I like that a lot, and especially since this is a great way if you played this with someone who's a bit newer. And at the very least, when they enter Seven Wonders, the original drafting, because all the symbols are pretty much the same, they're going to be able to grasp, okay, that's a resource. This is for warfare. Science lets me do things by collecting in small sets. So to me, it's still a game in and of itself, but it's a much better way to jump into Seven Wonders. That said, if staring at this game by itself, ignoring the original Seven Wonders, it is fun, it's lighthearted, and you're just gathering resources. But we've noticed when we played after a while, the common strategy emerged. Outside of one game, whoever built their wonder first was the winner. That's because the last level tends to give you a lot of victory points. And by the way, the one in which the person who built their wonder didn't win was because someone was playing the Great Pyramids of Giza. Its special powers, it's just worth more points. And they were going to build if the other person did not. So it just becomes sort of a race after a while. And funny enough, initially I remember thinking like this is a prime card. I mean, you get to see what's at the top of your deck. But after a while, the blue value cards most people tend to avoid because they're racing so quickly to get this. Or the science cards at least gave some strong abilities. Military can be strong too if you notice no one's building it up near you, because then you can get 6 points pretty easily and hopefully get the horns for it as well, though. That's the problem with the military. Because it's not guaranteed. We had someone build up a huge military, but no horn cards came up, just this symbol, so they didn't really get a lot of points. It just feels that no matter what, first to build wins. And in particular, I think part of that is it ends immediately as soon as someone builds their wonder. There isn't everyone gets an equal amount of turns kind of situation, which usually I'm a fan of because it allows everyone to at least make sense. Like, oh, well, you had 5 turns. I had 5 turns. Did I make enough points in 5 turns to match your 5-turn thing? It really felt like it became down to who actually had a completed wonder at the end of the game. Crits and misses for Seven Wonders Architects. Crits. The new streamlined version of Architects still allows players to get the feeling of building that majestic wonder, rival your opponent's militaries, reward you for collecting sets in science, and of course, trying to outmaneuver the people specifically to your left and right. The game's insert, so to speak, has each civilization put in its own little container case. This is not only nice for cleanup, but during setup, when you can hand out a wonder to a person, which includes all the pieces, their deck, and explain what their wonder does. This makes it not only great for organizational purposes, but really easy to teach the game as well. Misses. By streamlining and simplifying it, it unfortunately seems to me it fell into the pit trap of making one strategy an obvious path to victory. The first person who complete their wonder tend to be the winner. They almost always had more victory points because that last level alone was a big difference, and without getting one last turn for players to react, it gave the person who finished the game a good lead in points. Connected a bit with the previous miss, I noticed that the game can get a bit stale as certain cards tend to lose value with the entire table. There was a game in which almost every deck had a point value card on top, and everyone just kept taking from the center because no one really wanted to be the one to reveal the card underneath and giving their neighbor at least an advantage. I do think this game is not for seasoned Seven Wonders players. I think it's, like I said, streamlined and simplified in such a way that they will all just catch on to the winning strategy and get bored pretty quickly. That said, I don't find Seven Wonders to be an easy game to grasp. At the very least, you can learn the original one, but I've seen people being disappointed because they feel like they just weren't able to draft well because they never done drafting before. There are some games out there that have done, I think, a good job at making easy, quick learning drafting, such as Sushi Go. But for me, at least, Seven Wonders, and to its credit, I think is a boon, is an easy game to learn, but hard game to master. This game, on the other hand, I think does a good job of being a more fair entry point. While yes, you're going to get stagnated with strategies at the end, odds are if you don't play a lot of board games and you're just getting new to this, entering and learning to play this is a lot of fun. It's fun to see your wonder slowly construct. It's fun to collect the cards, the idea of getting the resources, and in particular, still not something I feel I see a lot, thinking about where I'm physically sitting at the table. I see what the point of this game is, and I do think it was designed to fill a much needed hole in the Seven Wonders line. Unfortunately, the problem is I do imagine that some people are going to have different expectations because of the Seven Wonders title and the fact that this was so long in the making, so to speak, compared to the original release of Seven Wonders, that it won't be nearly as obvious as being designed for people who are new to the world of the Seven Wonders line. Of course, we'll need to wait and see if this gets as many expansions as the original game, because that could make a big difference. Maybe add some more complexities, maybe add some deities, maybe add new wonders, new rules, which may make it more favorable to those who are experienced in original Seven Wonders. You can let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts on this game are. Are you a veteran of Seven Wonders? And if so, how did you feel about this game? Did you feel it was just different in terms of gameplay style? Or do you feel it was a simplified version that, while great for people to understand the rules, the symbolism, it maybe wasn't as much up your alley? Am I wrong that somehow my group just happened to do well that way and there is a different path of strategy? Did you find out that, oh, it just depends on what's going on? Or did you find military somehow is always the winning move? You can let me know in those comments down below. Love to hear from you. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this with someone if you think they're going to be interested in this game. Until then, I'm Will, and this has been Roll for Crit.